y'all, hola, bienvenidos a todos. Welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while. I know that I said I was gonna upload all of these different videos and I haven't, and it's just been chaotic because y'all, once school started, like off of orientation week alone, your girl was busy and stressed. I'm sorry. I actually think I will need to go back and redo a lot of my like first week of medical school overview clips. Or, I mean, I might keep them in there, but y'all, I was trying to vlog during my first week of classes and that did not work because once again, your girl was busy and stressed. So what you can look forward to on this channel moving forward is today, we're gonna be chatting and wrapping up my med application deep dive series, finishing off with the interview process and like the afterwards, like what to do when you're done. Then I'm going to try to go ahead and upload that pros and cons of my program list, which I'm actually kind of happy that I waited to do because now that I've actually experienced like a couple of weeks worth of classes, and like by the time I upload and record that one, I should be at like the 3-week mark, as well as having like a couple of quizzes and one exam under my belt. So I feel like I can give you guys a more like robust overview of like how my program is in terms of the, you know, pros and cons, parking, getting campus, like everything that I've been pretty much going through up to that point. So that's gonna come out, and then I'm probably gonna circle back into a financial aid chat because y'all, it is so important. I know I keep telling you guys I'm gonna make that video, and I really have to, because once again, now that I'm actually in the program, living here in North Carolina and like going through all of this stuff, I've been stressed out more than anything about my money. Okay, about my money. And so I just think that that needs to be a conversation, not only because like a what to do with your finances conversation, but also just some things that need to change in terms of this field, and like maybe thinking about ways we can like fix this issue if enough people talk about it, and like maybe some other people have some resources that like they could provide to my channel. But just in general, there's just a lot of things that I want to say about it, so that's going to be a separate installment. And yeah, pretty much all of my videos after that are going to be me, how it is in the program. I'm going to try to be vlogging more for like days and experiences that are really interesting, but I have to like look at my media rules for like certain areas because I think I can't like record in all of the areas. I also can't share certain things, I don't think. So I have to look more into those like principles and regulations because your girl is not trying to get sued, okay? I ain't got no money to get sued. So anywho, for today's video, as I said, we're gonna be getting into this interview process, but before I begin, I wanna just say congratulations to all of you guys who have reached this point, okay? I know that it's tiring, it's exhausting. You did an MCAT, you didn't submit your primary, you didn't stressed out about the thousands of essays for your secondaries, and now you are here. You are waiting to receive an invite to the schools of your choosing. And I understand how stressful this can be. This was literally me not too long ago, so I understand how stressful that can be, this waiting game. So in the meantime, the best thing that you can do is prepare and get ready, as well as speaking into existence that after your interview, after all of your preparation, you're going to get accepted. Please believe that for yourself. If for any reason, and like this is just some advice, like Jeanne's advice, you know, I'm not a professional, I'm not like a psychiatrist, but in my opinion, if you're going into this process feeling like, you know what, there's really no reason that a school would accept me, or I'm probably going to get rejected or whatever, if you're having those negative, nasty thoughts about yourself in your application, then more than likely that's what's going to happen, because that means you don't believe that what you've done is good enough. That means there's something about your application, there's something about you, there's something that's going to translate, into your app. So then even if you get an interview and you're feeling the way that you're feeling all negative and nasty like that, they're going to be able to pick up on that. So I would just say, you know, there are times to have some realistic conversations with yourself before you continue this process. Like, do you even want to continue this process, and be honest about it? Because I was actually getting a lot of recommendations on YouTube recently about people who dropped out of medicine, like either as physicians or in medical school. And, you know, I was like, okay, YouTube algorithm, what y'all trying to say? But I think that just speaks volumes on how exhausting this process really is, especially now that I've had time to be in it. So if you're waiting for interviews and you're having, again, these negative kind of like juxtaposing types of beliefs about your application and yourself, please know that it is okay to just kind of like take a step back, remove yourself from the equation, look at it objectively, and really determine if you want to keep going. And just know that there's nothing wrong with deciding that you don't want to or that you can't right now. Okay, this is somebody in your corner telling you it's okay. I don't know if that counts for anything, but this is me saying it. Now, moving on to the actual content of this video, I think what would really help first is knowing what type of interviews you are potentially getting into with your school choices. So the common ones are open and closed file applications and MMIs, which stands for multiple many interviews. So I'm going to start with the first one, which is an open case or like open file traditional interview, which is essentially the same thing as like if you were applying to a job. You would have one or maybe a couple of people on the admissions committee who have your application, they've read through it, and it's most likely in front of them as they're asking you questions. So these types of interviews are very direct, right? Like obviously because again, they have the file in front of them, they're asking you these questions directly. So the most important thing that you need to do in order to prepare for those type of interviews is knowing your application like the back of your hand. There should be nothing on that application, on your primary application, as well as your secondary essays. So anything that you submitted to this institution that causes you confusion, they should be able to ask you the most minuscule detail on that thing, and you'd be like, oh yeah, so this is this and this. Like you should be able to explain. And if you can't, that means you don't know yourself well enough, because your application is you. The things that you wrote in your secondaries is you. And if you don't understand what I mean, I really encourage you to go back and look at my other application deep dive installment. Because again, like you're not putting something out to these programs just for the hell of it. Like, you know what I mean? Like you are trying to express yourself to them. You're trying to allow them to get to know you. So there really shouldn't be any unfamiliarity or discomfort when somebody is asking you about you. So yeah, you just want to make sure that you know that application like the back of your hand. And then I also go by the 3-point rule. So you want to know something that is written explicitly on your application that you think they would be interested in, as in the admissions committees. So this is more of like your cookie cutter stuff, like, oh, your research and like your volunteer hours. Then you want to pick out something that you think is interesting or important for them to know or for them to focus on. So this could be like a community service that falls outside of the like cookie cutter scope. Like maybe you did some like really cool volunteering in like a completely different field outside of medicine that you feel like was really important to you or helped you discover a lot of things about yourself that you want to bring up. And then you should be bringing up something that's not on your application. You want to be able to leave off with like a new impression. You want to have the admissions person leave that meeting or that interview with you going, okay, this is a cool detail that I should remember, because these are the people that are going to be advocating for you as to why you should get the spot over maybe a different candidate. So I just always think, you know, again, those 3 things. What's important to like the cookie cutter admissions committee person, what's important to you, right? Like a key detail on your application that you really want to get across, and then something new that's not on your application. That's my 3-prong approach. I feel like that worked great for me when I was doing it. And it led to a lot of open dialogue, right? Because I feel like with these open file traditional interviews, it's kind of difficult to like not stray off course, but it's kind of difficult to like bring in like, again, different perspectives and have them view you from a different lens, because they already have it. They already have the picture of you based on your application that they're using to ask you questions from. So I just think it's always good to, you know, show them that you're not like this like one-dimensional piece of paper, and to talk about all types of different experiences. So yeah, that's kind of like my key advice for the open traditional interview. So now moving on to the closed, it's the same thing, right? You're talking one-on-one to a person or one-on-one at a time with like multiple people over the course of the day, except they don't have access to your application. They have no idea who you are. So this is where you're gonna be getting those like annoying, tell me about yourself type of questions, and how would your friends describe you if they only had to use 3 adjectives? Like you're gonna get those type of questions. Those are not obviously application based, since they don't have your application. They're going to be asking you things, and I just think it is the wrong approach. Personal opinion. It is the wrong approach to then launch into what's on your application. Like, it's like a reverse, right? For the open interview, you're kind of forced to stick with your application and try to add new things. For this closed one, I feel like it's the wrong approach to launch what's on your application, just because I feel like you can end up sounding kind of generic, right? Like, all of the primary application is structured the same way for everybody. Like, everybody has an activity section, everybody has a personal statement, everybody has, filled out secondary essays. So it's just kind of like, while you could, launch into like your why medicine and launch things that you wrote in your personal statement, I think it's a time to, again, take advantage of the fact that they don't know you, and to add some other spices, to add some other details, because they don't already have preconceived notions about you, right? Like, they don't know you. You're a blank slate. This is the time to color yourself in my opinion. Now, the caveat to this is you can bring up things in whatever order you want to tell them, and they could get stuck on a point. I actually had one interviewer who was so interested in the fact that I was a track and field athlete that he wanted to talk about that for like a duration of my interview. It was like, every time I tried to talk about something else, Mans was circling back to, so as a student athlete, and I appreciated it because that's a huge part of my identity, right? Being fit, being athletically built, whatever, having participated in track and field, student athlete burnout, that whole shebang is really important to me. I even have like a video somewhere on my channel about it, like a couple of videos about like the Olympics, because it's always just been of key interest to me. So I didn't mind that he was asking those things. However, I'm also very good at steering people away from like tangents, from running on, because I've had practice in it as an enforcement agent for, my former job. Because that happens a lot. You come on to the site to ask about, why is this hazard right here? And now, Larry, who's been on the job for 60 years, is telling you how things used to be back in the day. So I'm very good at getting people to focus. But if you don't have practice in doing that, if you're not familiar with like cutting people off, like courteously, cutting people off courteously, redirecting, like if you don't have those types of skills, practice them now. Look up some videos, okay? Like, really just get into the habit of steering people back, because what you don't want is, as I said, to spend a bulk of your interview talking about like one thing when you could have been bringing up a whole bunch of different stuff for them to then take back to the rest of the admissions committee for your ultimate decision of whether or not you're going to get into the program. So that's my key advice there. Now, moving on to the MMI. I'm sorry if I'm going a little fast, y'all, but I'm just trying to cover the ground, because the second part, as I said, is going to be the what to do after. So for the MMI, the multiple mini interview, there's so many resources out there on this, y'all, and I don't think you need to buy them. That's just, that's my personal take after experiencing it myself, buying a book for it. You don't need it. You don't need a book. You don't need you don't even really need to watch any videos. You really don't even need to prep like that. I know that sounds crazy, but like, you kind of don't. I feel like a lot of people put so much emphasis on this like MMI and so much nervous. It's common sense, in my opinion. Like, the scenarios that they bring to you, you don't need to be an expert on these issues. You just need to be a human being, okay? And I actually feel like the more you try to prep and think about how you would answer these types of questions, the worse off it's going to be. And I say this because we're not physicians yet. There's no point in you trying to think like a clinician now, because you have no idea what it's like to actually be in those positions. So for the MMI, let me back up. So for the MMI, if you're unfamiliar with it for whatever reason, it's pretty much you have like a station. I did mine on Zoom. I don't know how it works in person, so I'm going to be talking about it from a virtual sense. But you get on Zoom, and then you get put into these breakout sessions. And in like the waiting room, you have a prompt. You read the prompts. You have like a minute or 2 or 3 or however long it is to read the prompt, formulate how you would like to answer it, and then you enter the room when you're ready, and you have a set amount of time to go ahead and explain what you would do in the scenario that they just gave you. This is very, very similar to the SJT, in my opinion, the situational judgment test, for those of you guys who had to take it, as well as the as well as the Casper. So those like situational awareness tests of like, you know, again, you have a scenario, what would you do? It's the same thing except by word of mouth. And it can be about all types of different things. It could be ethical related questions. It could be personal conflict resolution questions. They really just vary and depend, which is why I said I really don't think that you need to prepare. I think you just need to have common sense. And then again, avoiding that whole trying to sound like a clinician, trying to sound like a, you know, because you're not. So let's say the scenario is something like you're on the street and you see somebody going into cardiac arrest. What do you do and why? I feel like a lot of y'all watching this video and on my subscribe to my channel would probably say something like, well, I would help them because of the Hippocratic Oath and, you know, due diligence and, you know, healthy, and that's my job and I want to help people. Stop it. If that's not how you really are in real life, stop it. Because let's be honest, if somebody were to drop in front of me right now, even with me being an accepted medical student, I would freak out. That's my first reaction. I'm gonna be like, oh, I can't believe it. And then I would say that I would want to help this person, but you know, there's nothing wrong with admitting that you are a flawed, scared human being. You know, I would want to help this person, but if I injure them even more, I know that I could potentially get sued. If I injured them even more, that's going to weigh on my conscience. If I injure, like, or what if I try to help them and I've actually made it worse for the paramedics or the people that need it, you know, that are going to help them later, right? I feel like those are all realistic answers to say back to such a prompt that are not very like Mother Teresa-esque. Now, if you are truly a Mother Teresa type, like in real life, by all means, go ahead and say that you would drop on all fours and get to chest compressing. Like, go ahead and say that that's what you would do. But I'm just saying your personality better reflect on the rest of your application and the rest of your interviews. Because I know for me, all of my MMIs were also tied to a traditional interview as well. So somebody better be able to report back, like through your MMIs, that yes, this person is very kind-hearted, kind-natured, Mother Teresa would drop at a dime and help. The rest of everything else better be saying that too. That's all I mean, because I think authenticity is like a really, really huge thing, which is, you know, it's a really huge thing for me personally, which is what I try to express and push out on my channel. Authenticity, being you, being your unique self. Like, you're going to hear me talk about that a lot, because I really think that unfortunately, you know, with the whole cookie cutter, what it means to be a good applicant, what it means to be a good med student, what it means to be a good doctor, a lot of that thinking is very archaic. And it's just not realistic. It's just not helpful in real life scenarios. Like, again, we would all like to think that we're the type of people to stop moving cars if we saw somebody fall and trip in the middle of the street. We would love to think that highly of ourselves, but in real life, it's just not true. And I just think that for the MMI, having that realistic approach is just the best bet, because I just think that, again, you're not pretending to be something you're not. You're not trying to put up a facade. Like, you're answering hopefully pretty easily, because it's your real emotions and your real thoughts. Now, somebody else could be watching this video and like completely disagree with me. You could go watch, you know, type in on YouTube, Google, whatever, MMI interview practice and prep, and somebody else will give you that nice cookie cutter. Well, first I would, yeah, I'm just not that type of person, y'all. I feel like you should know by now that that's just not the vibe of my channel. That's not the vibe of me. And so that's just not the advice that I'm going to give to y'all. So yeah, some other things to keep in mind with the MMI. There is no wrong answer. That's another key point, right? Like, I feel like kind of going along with the whole cookie cutter clinician thinking mindset, there is no right answer, because they know very well that you don't likely have experience in these scenarios, unless that's what the prompt is asking you. The prompt could be asking you about personally your opinions on things. And my advice there is to stick to your opinion. Like, obviously be open to hearing other points of view and other perspectives. However, I just don't think that it does any good for you to have one mindset and then show that you're easily swayed because like somebody else told you something. You can include evidence, right? Include evidence, findings, support, listen to counter arguments, and still believe what you believe. believe. Like it's possible to do both. So please don't think that you need to go into that, you know, those types of interview scenarios where you have a prompt that's more about a personal opinion and you change it midway, because you don't have to. There are several times during, like, I'm trying to think about some of the ones I had for my program right now. There were several times where people brought up things that, like, I didn't even think about. Like, I didn't even think about that, or, you know, my stance was based on a concept that I didn't know the word for. And my interviewer would provide me the context. They would provide me the word of, okay, I think you're thinking about it from this perspective, but what about this one? And I was like, yeah, you know, that's great. However, I still feel this way, and that's okay. Dissent is not an argument. Dissent is not an unwillingness to be teachable. Dissent is normal and a part of human communication. So I just want to, you know, put that out there, that it's completely okay to just like agree to disagree sometimes. I think that's it in terms of like the interview types. If I've missed something, I can go ahead and like add it down in the description box below, or like point you guys to some other resources that maybe would cover what I've missed. But as of right now, off the top of my head, I really don't think that I'm missing anything in terms of like preparation for the different types of interviews. Because again, I think you guys should be like receiving them around now and like scheduling them around now. So do at least one practice. I only did one. No, seriously, just one. Just do at least one so you can get those nerves out the way. But I don't think that you need to do more than that. Because overall, guys, I'm going to keep telling y'all this. I believe in you guys. I really do. And you need to believe in yourself, because as I said, with the whole take an objective look, if this is even something you still want to pursue, I'm so serious, because if you don't believe in yourself through this process, I really don't know what to tell you. You know, I just think overthinking it, overanalyzing it, stressing, it's just not healthy. It's not conducive to anything. Just have confidence in that you know who you are, you know your beliefs, you know your mindset, you know your experiences, and be able to communicate the hell out of that to anybody asking you about it in an interview. So yeah, I think that's it for this first part of the video of like, you know, interview prep, what to do, what the interviews are about. So now I'm going to jump into what to do after, which again, not a lot of people talk about, and I wish they would. While you're waiting to hear back for your acceptance that we're speaking into existence, please y'all do your financial aid homework. Do it, do the homework. Know how much the enrollment fee is, right? Because this is separate from your secondary application. That secondary application is just money robbed from you. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. You wanna know how much your enrollment deposit is, which is usually credited towards your total cost of attendance. That can range anywhere from like $50 to like $500. So please just make sure that you know how much you're going to be paying upon acceptance to this school. And then you have like a holding fee, which is pretty much the cost that you pay to hold your seat. So the enrollment fee is what you would pay to say, yes, I'm coming, while the seat fee is the maybe I'm coming. That is refundable. The seat or holding fee is refundable, but you still need to have it available at the moment that you get accepted, because I think you only have like 14 days to send, 14? Or maybe even 7 days to send that in. So if you are like financially strapped right now, that's another thing to consider, right? If you didn't apply to like 30 plus schools and somehow by the grace of whoever you believe in, I believe in Jesus, so by the grace of God, you get accepted into all 30, you looking at potentially about $100 each. You're looking at 3,000 bones to be telling people, yeah, I'm potentially gonna come to your school, hold my seat. Now, eventually, you know, the way that the AMCAS has set it up, you're gonna drop off like basically all of those to only have 3 acceptances, which three acceptances or 3 seats held, which I get into in another video, which I'll tag somewhere on the screen. So eventually that money is gonna come back to you in process, but that's still something to think about. Also, asking questions during your interview, y'all, about the financial aid process, how much things cost, what exactly do you need to pay for, what resources are paid for by your school. So like, I know for me, my program gives out like USMLE, like prep work, like the flashcards and the decks. We have access to that paid through our tuition and fees. So ask them what resources are covered in some of these costs and fees for attendance. Ask them about, I feel like I'm getting too deep into financial aid. Hold on, let me back up. Because again, that's gonna be a separate video. But just in the meantime, just know that while you're waiting to hear back on whether or not you got accepted, and during the time that you consider attending one of these institutions, you're doing your homework on the financial costs. For real, the cost of moving, the cost of, housing, like everything. Like, do your homework. That is the most important thing that you need to be doing while you're waiting to hear back from these schools. Then, of course, you want to do some research into like your curriculum. So reaching out to students, what is it really like? Unfortunately, I feel like they're only going to be able to provide you with like a snapshot most of the time. So you want to try to get like somebody like me. You want to get a first year who's just getting into it, who can tell you what it's like off rip, because I think that's what matters the most. Sorry to the MS2s and beyond. It's just y'all have a more nuanced perspective because like obviously you've been there for longer and you're used to it. I feel like you want to know what it's like to hit the ground running. You want to know like, all right, if I say yes, first week, what is this going to feel like? The person who's going to be able to tell you that the best is an MS1, somebody just starting the program, and their real honest experience with how it's been so far. So yeah, you want to get to know people in the schools that you like, ask questions. Also during this like waiting period for like whether or not you get accepted, let's see. Learning how to leverage financial aid offers. You want to look into that. So develop a template. I think I can put one up on my Google Drive. I think only like 5 of you have accessed that so far, but I can put up a template on my Google Drive on like how to leverage financial aid offers. And like really y'all, during this waiting time, it's really just preparing yourself to go ahead and start. I also would say that during this waiting time, go on vacation. I went to Mexico and it was amazing. I had a blast. And I think everybody should take a vacation because you kind of, number one, need to reward yourself that you just went through such a stressful and exhausting application period for the primaries and the secondaries and the interviews, and you did this whole thing. Treat yourself, love yourself. But also just because you're not gonna have time. Like once you start school, like you're gonna realize not only do you not have time, you probably don't have the money for it. So treat yourself now if you can. Take that time off. Okay, if you can quit work sooner than you need to, do it. Because I really want to say that valuing time for yourself, self-care, and all that stuff is so important. That I just think that you need to seize moments when you have the opportunity to do so. And this is one of those times. So that gap in between waiting for your acceptance and actually enrolling into school. Oh, so while you're waiting to get an acceptance, stay away from Student Doctor Network. Stay away from Reddit because there are so many things that influence why some people hear back faster than others. Who hears back? Like it's such, again, y'all, I've touched on this in other videos. You just never really know the actual formula for like why things are the way that they are in this process because you're not on the admissions committee yourself to know that. So I just don't think that it does any good to get on Student Doctor Network like every other day. Did anybody hear back yet? Like you're just gonna induce anxiety in yourself. And as well as it just being like a super negative space. Like y'all know how I feel about Student Doctor Network. If you're subscribed to my channel, I hate that place. So yeah, stay away from those types of forums, Reddit, all of those things. Hell, Facebook groups, stay away from them. Just wait, right? And wait, and not in a state of anxiety. Wait patiently, wait graciously, and wait freely, right? Free of, like I said, undue stress. Like, you put your best foot forward, go on vacation, pour yourself a drink, eat yourself some good food, and just know that like everything is going to work out the way that it's supposed to. I'm not going to say it's going to work out the way you want it to because that's not how life works. It's going to work out the way that it's supposed to. I feel like that's it for this video, kind of like all of the points that I wanted to cover. If I missed anything, please, as always, comment down below. Let me know what else you would like me to cover or go over, or what you would have liked to hear from me, or that you're just curious about. You can also utilize my YouTube email, which is in my About section if you're using the mobile app, or not the mobile app, if you're using a PC or if you're using the TV. I don't know where it's at if you're using the mobile app. But you can reach out to me by email. A lot of you guys end up following me on Instagram, so I'm just gonna quickly put out this disclaimer again, especially if you're new and you're gonna subscribe. My Instagram channel is completely personal. It is me in real life, unfiltered. That includes me looking crazy, that includes me looking good, that includes me going out. Like, please do not go onto my Instagram thinking that you're gonna see like this version of me, because you're not. But yeah, a couple of you guys end up following me on there, DMing me. So I really appreciate and love when y'all do that. And I think that's about it, guys. So don't forget to like this video, share my channel with all of your med friends, pre-med and current alike. Hit that notification bell down below if you haven't already, so you're alerted to when I post. And thank you so much for the support. Adios.